It's loading up now.
I'm not getting
It's loading.
There it is. Now we're live, I believe.
Okay.
It's giving me that message. Everybody else getting that message? Now streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah, here we go.
All right. Good evening, as it is 6:03, a little later than I like to start. Welcome to all of you who might be joining us from the airwaves to the January 27th, 2022 meeting. Happy New Year. I am live from Brooklyn, New York tonight, helping with a new arrival since our last meeting. Little Remy Dugan was born to our son and his wife, our second son and his wife out here. So if I begin to babble, it's because I haven't slept in a week, but that's okay. He's perfect and it's been fun to help him. I am waiting on a nor'easter to hit tomorrow. I'll do my best. Roll call votes tonight, not a lot of votes, if any, and we will proceed. With that, Mary Jane is going to handle public comment and is, I think, hooked up to do that.
I am, and I just got the test that Adam sent.
Okay.
So we'll give it a minute and see if
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, right now it says 4 viewers, and 2 of those are probably myself and Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Okay.
While we're waiting, in case Jessica doesn't want to stay on video the whole time, I'd like to introduce Jessica Healy, who we hired on as our administrative assistant to help run the office more effectively and efficiently. She's ran her own business for quite some time now, so she's very up to date with websites, advertising, software for helping to manage the business. And I think it'll be a smooth transition. Really welcome to your ideas and happy to have you here, Jess.
Thank you. Happy to be here, everyone.
Jessica, tell us just our viewers just a little bit about yourself personally. We got a little professional stint there, but you live close, I know.
I do. I actually live just a couple miles from the lake. I'm married. I have a 10-year-old son named Oliver. He goes to Unionville Elementary, where he loves it. Have a year-old Bernie doodle named Ernie. He's a handful.
Ernie was on it before everybody got logged on.
Yeah, Mary Jane got to catch a glimpse of Ernie the Bernie doodle. And as Adam mentioned, I do own my own business. I own a couple of websites. So yeah, that's kind of me, I guess.
So stop in once this COVID surge passes, stop in and say hello, all you folks who might be out there. And we're really glad to have you as well.
Thank you.
All right, Mary Jane, anything coming up? Or are we quiet tonight?
I have nothing.
Okay. Well, might be a limited audience tonight, and that's the way it is.
Still only two viewers besides Adam and me.
Okay. All right. Well, let's proceed. If you see something, I would entertain, or I would ask the board to allow having.
If I may, Pam.
Yes, sir.
I do see that Malcolm had made a comment online prior to the meeting. I don't know if that counts for now, or do we want to?
Well, and I appreciate that question. Let me give you a little background. So I got an email from him and alerted Mary Jane to get her thoughts, and she and Adam and I had a meeting yesterday. Is that right? Was it yesterday? Yeah. That's correct. To discuss it. And Adam has reached back out to Malcolm to give him some more information about some of the things he's inquiring about. But I have no problem if you want to outline a little bit of that in this piece, and wondered if we should.
Well, I thought about that as well. But since what Malcolm wanted to talk about is already in the discussion of the meeting tonight, could we just put those two things together?
That makes sense.
Yeah, that being the large barge discussion and the marina boat rental discussion, we can certainly insert those there. That's a good idea. I like that. And hopefully that would be okay with him.
Didn't want him to get lost. I knew it was.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Titled it as public comment, so.
No, that was on my mind as well. So I appreciate you bringing that up. We will, I will make a note beside those two pieces just to make sure that I don't forget.
So,
okay.
Madam Chair, can I suggest that we leave the chat open on the YouTube live stream for like 3 or 4 more minutes?
Absolutely.
And if we don't get anything, then we'll turn that off.
That's a great idea. I leave it on 5 more minutes, and then we will add Malcolm's thoughts in as we get to those pertinent items.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so that would take us to the approval of the December 16th, 2021 board meeting minutes. And I would ask if anyone has seen anything that needs to be corrected or deleted or added.
I move we accept the minutes as printed.
As printed, okay, very well.
Second.
Michael, second, okay. Steve has motioned that we will move them as printed, and Michael Klitzing has seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the December 16th board meeting minutes, please say aye, and we'll just go down the line. Mary Jane?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Michael K?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Les? And Mike Blackwell? Thank you. Okay, all ayes, motion carries and minutes are approved. Treasurer's,
I have one comment, and it's from Kay Pontius. I don't know if I'm saying that, her last name correctly. Is the only time to comment during public comments at the beginning? And the
Yes.
answer to that is yes.
yes.
And we would encourage you as well, when you receive the board packet, if you have comments or something you'd like stated, to reach out to your area director, and you can have them read something or provide information as well.
Yes.
All right, that will take us to item 4 on the agenda, which is the treasurer's report. Debbie, nice to see you. Glad you're back from sunny Florida. Maybe you're not.
No,
A little cold.
yeah. Okay, this should go pretty quickly. In your board packet are the December financial statements. So I just want to talk about those for just a couple quick minutes. Number one, we've got $475,000 in cash and checking account because we made that first payment to United Excavating. We have $832,750 left in that construction account. Adam's going to make a couple little reclassifications on the fixed assets because we really need that patrol boat capitalized in the boats, and I want to check about how we had that dump truck reported too, but that won't change the bottom line. Our long-term liabilities, we paid off $55,000 this year in our principal, so we're at $1,145,000. So overall, our total assets are just short of 2.5 million, and our equity is about 1.3 million. I did want to talk about the net income for year to date, because it's the year. So December, from January to December 21, you'll notice on the P&L year to date comparison, if you kind of float your eyes to the second page there, we're basically showing a net loss, if you will, for the month of December of $21,000. You can see that during the month, we paid our bond payment and our bill on the sediment mitigation. So that was $168,000. So I wanted to highlight those as expenses. And then if you look at year to date, if you look at that loss overall for $104,000, remember that these are cash basis because they're government. And if you take that $104,000 loss and you say we paid the principal of $55,000, we paid our sediment management at $155,000, and we bought the patrol boat for $12,500. Those are all 6,700 accounts, which are capital accounts, and they all are at the bottom of the expenses. That was $222,750 we paid out. So the way I like to look at it is our net income from operations was like $118,000. So I kind of like add that back. So I don't know if that helps you or confuses you, but that's the way I'd like to look at it. And then if you, there are a lot of variances of actual compared to budget. And when we get to the transfer funds, I guess I can go over that a little bit more, but Adam and I have been through that in detail. And, most of the expenditures, they all have to do with the sediment management project, and those are the things that were pretty much over budget, but I'll talk maybe a few minutes more about that when we do the transfers. Did anybody have any questions or comments on the December financials? Okay, I don't think I need an approval on that. I'm going to stick with it and go to D then, that item D on 4, which is a transfer of funds.
Don't
And
we need to do
basically,
Debbie, don't we need to do the report of claims?
can I skip to this because it like fits right in?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so I just kind of change the order a little. These transfer of funds in 2021, basically every line item on expense that we're over budget, we need to try to get it within budget. And so Adam and I went through that and basically are requesting, and you have the detailed transfer funds of $94,251. And if you go through those transfer items, and this is where I think I'll pick up the variances, Mary Jane, on some of what we budgeted for and what we didn't budget for. Some of the bigger items are we need to make a transfer to cover the manager's healthcare stipend. We need to make transfer to cover our credit card expenses for the credit card machine. We had some changes in the staffing on the dredger, so we used some line items and we didn't use others, so we had to transfer those amounts. Our attorney fees went about $6,800 over budget. That was the PIC and overflow pond. Our consulting went almost $19,000 over budget. That was a sediment management project. Our other professional and secretarial services were about $10,000 over budget, and that basically was our S&P bond rating that we paid for. I think those are the major items. There was the dam and spillway, which we budgeted in one account, and we basically paid it all out of another account. We still ended up paying a couple $1,000s more than what we had budgeted. And of course, we had the patrol boat for $12,500. So I guess I need to ask for an approval of the transfer of funds, right?
I move to ratify the transfer of funds as presented.
Okay,
I'll second that.
thank you. Okay, and I'll go back now to B, Mary Jane, on the
Do
I
we
mean-
need,
But we need to vote on that real quick. I can run that, Debbie, if
oh,
you like.
gotcha.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded that we allow the transfer of funds as presented. Any other discussion? If not, let's vote. Mary Jane,
aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Michael K,
Aye.
Debbie,
Aye.
Les,
Aye.
Mike Blackwell. Aye, and I too am an aye.
All right, sorry about that.
No, no problem.
All right. And then I guess you've all been provided the detail on the claims for December, 168,926.63. I've already mentioned those major amounts that are included in there. In it is United Excavating for 115,200, and then our payment, repayment on the bond for 42,550. Everything else to me looked pretty minor. I didn't have any questions or issues on any of those. Overall, our payroll was $7,200. So I would ask for a motion to approve the claims.
I'll make that motion. Oh, Mike Blackwell will make that motion. I'll second it. How about that?
Actually, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I just, it would be nice if we had some kind of receipt showing things that we buy, like at Kleindorfer's. And I'm surprised Les didn't bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up. But, we bought a rake, a shovel, some rags, some grease, some oil dry, and some sockets for $386.80. I mean, it just sounds, a little high for those 6 items. You can go to Harbor Freight. You can go to Harbor Freight and get those 6 items for about $100. So
Right.
it just,
We
Duly-
do have
duly-
bill receipts. Are you saying that you want the receipts of all these expenditures presented to the board?
I thought that was part of your internal control comment at the last meeting, that we were going to start maybe, getting some type of control on just items like that. If we had,
Well,
The receipts are submitted with the allowance of vouchers, so they're attached to the voucher form. So if you have questions on something specific, we can get those.
you can get them. Mike, just to clarify, our internal control comment and what we're working on as a result of the audit is to specifically write down and document our exact process, who can approve what, who does what, how the checks flow through to approval, how the receipts come in at the various points, and what the checks and balances are. We just don't have that written down very well, but they had no problem with the way we do things and didn't find any issues.
okay. The other thing is were the flowers, was that for Dave Hobson?
Yes, sir, it was, and they were a beautiful yellow arrangement that Adam actually had trouble procuring because it was Thanksgiving weekend. But I actually was at the calling and they were gorgeous. And I think they were a lovely tribute to a former stellar board member.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, so we need a motion then to approve the report of claims for December.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mary Jane. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Michael Klitzing. Any further discussion? If not, let's vote. Mary Jane,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Michael Klitzing,
Aye.
Debbie,
Aye.
Les,
Aye.
Mike Blackwell. He's an aye, and I too am an aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Debbie.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm really excited.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Sure,
Can we turn the live chat off now so I can
Sure.
go look at the board packet?
absolutely, absolutely. I think we're fine. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so I'm pretty excited because my part was pretty short tonight compared to last time. So the last thing I'd like to ask for is a motion. We have a CD that is renewing on February 5th. It's at 0.35%. I think that's maybe $100 for the whole year. And as we did with the other CDs, Adam and I would recommend that we basically cash out the CD and put it in our savings account so that we've got ready access to it should we need it. It's
And it comes to about $30,000 if I read this.
$31,990.25.
Okay,
And historically, we've had like 7 or 8 CDs floating that come together at different times. So it'll be real nice, the money that we don't spend to get into maybe 2 CDs, one maturing in July, one maturing in December. That way we don't have to go through so many.
so Debbie, your recommendation, to be clear, is that we cash that in and then
Yes,
put that
and
money in
place
our,
it in the savings. Uh-huh.
in the savings. Okay, any discussion about that and any other ideas? All right, if not, I would entertain a motion to agree with what Debbie says and to cash that CD 37103407.5 in.
So moved.
Thank you, Michael. May I have a second?
Second.
Oh, Steve, I'm gonna give Steve Pretty the second. Thank you. All right, any further discussion? If not, let's please vote. Mary Jane,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Michael Klitzing,
Aye.
Debbie,
Aye.
Les,
Aye.
Mike Blackwell. And I too am an aye. Thank you. Motion carries. All right, that brings us to the manager's report. And no, I'm not trying to get back to the baby tonight, just so you know. I seem like I'm moving quickly. Steve, yes, what's wrong?
This is probably a little bit out of order, but I didn't know where to put it, and I thought it was belong more in the treasurer's report. Is there any way that we think it would be appropriate, or can we get the amount of money that has been donated to the Monroe County, Brown County, Lake Lemon Restoration Fund? I think it would be nice to know that.
Mary Jane can answer that, I think. She's been working on
We
that.
actually have gotten some reports, and we're going to put a presentation together for the February meeting and go through it in detail.
Never mind.
We're way ahead of you, Steve. I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
No, that's a great question, and we are working on it, especially
Let
Mary
it-
Jane.
Let it suffice to say, the funds had a pretty good year. So, but we need to get the details so that we're not just giving raw data. without some context.
Context, yeah. But it's a great question. We'll get to that. Stay tuned next month. Okay, Debbie, I think that completes your segment, unless I've missed something. We kind of jumped around. You good? All right. That brings us to the manager's report. Adam, take it away, please.
All right, 2022 election update. Again, sub area 2, Debbie Ladyman will be running for another 4-year term. And for sub area 6, Malcolm McClure is running uncontested. Both districts are uncontested. So there will not be an election at the February annual meeting. For a staffing update, we have hired Jessica Healy for our admin position. We still have application period open for equipment operations supervisor and the operations supervisor. I have been receiving some applications for the operations supervisor, where the old position that Alex was in. It seems like most of the applications I'm getting are from people later on in their career, from DNR, Forest Service, et cetera, that aren't willing to take quite the pay cut to get down there. We have sent these out to universities, and I will do another email blast with soliciting applications for that moving forward. Really, I'm hoping to have somebody in kind of early March. That way we are hitting the ground, have plenty of time for training before the summer, then come on before the lake work actually starts to happen. I do have
Adam, quick question. Where did we advertise that to? Where is it advertised? It is on our website, or
it's on Indeed, and then I have a big list of DNR IDEM services, and then quite a few people from universities, almost every university in the state. It's also on the Indiana Environmental and Waterworks pages, Indiana Lakes Management Society. It's a pretty big environmental listserv that I send it out using the contacts through Indiana Lakes Management.
would you mind sending me a copy or the board a copy? I'd just like to see what that
Absolutely.
advertisement looks like. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does it have the income on there?
It does, yes.
So
Yeah.
what's it pay?
40,000 is the starting salary on that. So I'm suspecting we'll get somebody probably coming right out of grad school for the position, which would be good because they're fresh on the science. I'm not sure we're going to get somebody that's been in service for a long time to come, unless they're nearing retirement and it's not really going to affect their pension or anything. So I'm confident we'll get some good candidates. It's a little bit slower. It was initially sent out right around the holiday season. So I'll have to do another blast now that all the students are back in session.
So which departments at IU did you reach out to?
I sent it to SPIA and then to the Parks and Rec or Recreation.
Okay, that's good.
I'll send you a link to IPRA for their job posting too. So some of the folks that are looking in Parks and Rec that aren't looking on Indeed might find it there.
Thank you. All right. Next we have the large barge liquidation discussion. Really, it's more of a discussion. I've been having a very hard time getting anybody that can predict a value on the barge. It is showing its age. I know I sent out to the board some of the initial appraisals on it that talk about it's hard to see wear and tear. Really, the main hopper in that barge should be replated moving forward. I mean, you could keep plating that to get some more life out of it. I'm not confident we're going to be pulling 5+ years out of that barge. As well with the excavator, it's a pretty old excavator. We have been having more and more repairs coming on it, and I am, Les actually asked for some numbers, and I am pulling together numbers for that equipment cost. I think just last year we spent about $5,000 on the Komatsu, $3,200 on the big barge. 2021 we spent $11,000 on the big barge, on the push boat primarily, between damage from being in the creeks, repairing that type of stuff, and then we had some engine and transmission issues. So those are really just kind of showing their age. What I would like to do is try to get what we could get for these barges, or find out. I did have a CNC equipment out here who deals with excavators quite a bit. They did an appraisal on the excavator and the old dump truck they essentially said with the barge and the other companies, you'll get what people are willing to pay for it. Heartland Dredging has shown a very big interest in the barge of either purchasing it or potentially renting it for the project coming up, the hydraulic dredging project, to use it in conjunction with their hydraulic dredge, essentially using that as an anchor point. The dredge runs along a cable. What I would like to do is, that excavator is approaching, I would say, end of life. The boom on it is getting very sloppy. Many of the joints for the bucket, I think there's be some big repairs if we want to continue to use that. And I would like to see what we can get for the barge, why there's still some life left in it. I think it'd be best to sell it why there's still some usability, and prior to somebody just walking up and saying, all right, we don't want this at all. So I think one of the best potential ways to do that would be to solicit bids according to State Board of Accounts. Now, we do not have to accept any of these bids. We don't have to move forward with a sale, but we could get an actual snapshot of what interested parties are willing to pay for that.
Adam, the question I have forgotten to ask you in the course of some other discussions, has Heartland asked you to give them a price, or have they hinted at all at what they might be willing to pay?
They have not. They said they are very motivated. Otherwise, they're going to have to look at purchasing a barge somewhere else or having one built.
Well, you should say, make me an offer and see what they say.
See what they say. They're looking for a bargain, certainly, because they're not cheap. If you got to go build one, we know that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Debbie. See what they say, but I would agree that if we don't have to do anything, why not get the wheels in motion and see what we can dig up with some, we'll have to get the attorney involved, I guess, in that.
Yeah, I'd want to use the attorney to go ahead and look through the sales documents, make sure the wording's there, that we're advertising, that we're not guaranteeing an award of any sealed bids.
You know,
Steve, did you have a question? I'm sorry, Debbie, hang on one second.
Adam, my basic question is, if we got rid of the large barge, which we're talking about, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we get rid of the large barge, what do we lose in functionality or our ability to take care of the lake? Anything?
The only potential loss would be the width of digging channel. So on the barge, you can currently dig about a 40-foot wide channel. On the small boat, you can dig about a 30-foot wide channel. That's not to say that you can't move over if you need to go wider. We're still able to use the small barge for dredging. We can use it for riprap. And we've actually just got the case excavator back today with a new hydraulic thumb on it from the company we bought it from. So we'll be able to use that small excavator as well for debris removal. And the thing about the small excavator is it's much more agile, it's quicker. You don't have 90 feet of barge to try to get in these areas and turn around. So I don't think we really lose much maintenance ability. You also look at gaining more revenue. That's the biggest revenue generating barge that we have out of the two. On the big barge, it's 100 cubic yards. We charge $1,500 for private dredging per load. That comes out to about $15 per cubic yard. On the small barge, we charge $1,000 for 33 cubic yards. So you're looking at, I think it was $33 per cubic yard. So you're making almost twice the money per job with that small barge.
I guess you are losing capacity if you think 100 versus 33. That's the other thing. If we don't have the big barge, Steve, except
that I was going to kind of ask Adam to kind of emphasize what Steve just asked, because just to kind of roll back, I think overall, Adam and I started kind of looking at this as we were looking, and maybe the budget committee, as we were looking at our capital assets and what was the value and when would we pay for them and what's the estimated useful life of them and what's it going to cost to replace them, given the fact that we've got these bonds that we're going to be paying for 20 years. So I think that's really what started Adam really kind of looking at that, and then looking at our staffing and our operations and what it takes and what you have to pay, for some of this. So it sounded like the small barge, like Pam, I was kind of interested because Adam, you said that the large barge could do 2 or 3 loads a day or whatever. And that the small could do like 3 to 5. And I thought, well, that 3's kind of really like right there. I didn't, but you can still, it just takes more days, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, it really depends on how close you are to the disposal site. If there was an area where you could get 3 big barge loads in a day, you could probably get close to 6 on the small. So we're not losing a whole lot in time frame when digging just because of the speed and agility of the small barge.
We did use the large barge in a taxi situation, did we not, for a time in Chitwood? Weren't we digging with the small loading off onto the big, a bit tedious, but we did do it that way in
We
that
did,
dig.
yes. Correct.
Just reminder. Yes, Steve?
Adam, I understand what you're saying, but if we sell the large barge, do we have the capacity to meet all the demand with just the small barge?
Steve, you froze there. Can you repeat that question, please? At least
Well,
for
I know
me.
it's cold outside. I apologize for freezing. But my question is, if we get rid of the large barge, do we have enough capacity with the small barge to meet the demand that the lake presents?
Good
I
question.
believe so. And I think there's other options as well if we do want to replace some equipment moving forward. I mean, we really need to look at the numbers that we have in-house, since we currently are digging at contractor prices, whether we can do it more efficiently or looking at a company potentially keeping a barge on here. But if we do decide that we want to keep it in-house, there's cheaper barges that you can build, which are way more efficient, such as shuttle barges. And some other mechanical operations utilize that, where they'll have the one barge with the excavator, and then they'll have 2 or 3 small shuttle barges that are just a barge with a motor on it, an outboard motor that can hold, up to 20, 30 yards, to where you can stay in place and just shuttle those back and forth. And we had actually talked about that before when we built a small barge, but that would greatly increase efficiency so you can continue to dig. So I think there are things that we can look at if we decide to keep this in-house to make it more efficient.
Yes, Les?
Yeah, I think that was what Malcolm was asking too in his email is, because we went through so much aggravation to get the darn thing, you kind of hired, and I've got several questions. So just to kind of help me wrap around this. So first off is, how old is that barge?
We purchased it in 2009.
And it was used at the time, Les. I forget
Okay.
how old it was. Adam, do you remember? Dick Payne had it.
I think Dick Payne used it for just a couple of years.
Okay.
When he had it.
Okay. All right. And then are you talking about getting rid of the push boat also?
I think if we sold it, you'd probably get rid of the barge and the push boat together.
And so the push boat, how many hours are on that thing?
I'll have to go and look. I'm not positive on that.
Maybe we need a summary of all of these things so that we can continue this discussion. Those are great questions.
Yeah, I got a couple more. I guess if we don't have the barge, we don't need the push boat anymore. Is there more potential there to get some money if we sold that one? I mean, or is that still you get what you get?
To sell the push boat?
Yeah.
No, I think you would put it up as when you advertise it, have a line item where you could purchase one, the other, or both combined.
Okay. All right.
I think there's most of the value is probably in that push boat.
How many hours do you have on the excavator?
So currently on the computer, it shows around, I think I'll have to go back and look. I think it's 7,000 hours. But the computer was knocked out by lightning probably in 2013 or 14. And so that's since the computer was replaced. So I don't think there's a way, and there's no maintenance records from
And
those.
what year is that unit?
The excavator?
Yeah.
It is. Let me pull the Bible right here.
1997.
1997.
And that's the big one we're talking about?
It had 40.
Yeah, 1997.
Okay.
And so the estimated life on that, I mean, most of that had under 10 years estimated life on the original fixed assets. So the barge was 2009, push boat, it says 2010. Although that came with the barge. And then the excavator was in 1997, correct?
Okay, because I checked various heavy construction stuff on the internet, and they were saying that it's, you know, about 10,000 hours is the lifespan of those things. So
I think we're well over 10,000 hours between everything.
yeah, okay. Now remind me now, what do we for the small barge? Are we? I can't remember. We have a little push boat for that, or are we still using those outboard motors?
That used the 2 Yamaha outboard motors, which we actually had rebuilt over this past winter time.
And so, what's our maintenance been on that? Is that we doing a little better on that?
Yeah, it's been pretty low. That case machine is so new. We really haven't had any major repairs on that, except for a couple blown hoses and then putting the stem on it. The biggest cost that we had for the small barge was just getting the motors rebuilt, and that was $5,400. And so that was really most. We had probably 1 or 2 lower units prior to that. That's most of the cost on that barge is that $5,400. So the motors are relatively new. We've ran them really hard since 2016. They're constantly going through muck and mud, so we decided to kind of rebuild them as a preventative maintenance. So I think we still have quite a bit of life in those.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks.
Good questions. Anybody else?
I think one of the things that's kind of critical in understanding whether or not we should have barge operation, what barges we have is what type of, what are we going to be doing long-term as far as dredging and mechanical dredging in particular, that kind of what our priorities are going to be, what we're going to do in-house sort of drives what type of equipment we need, and then you can do an assessment. I'm not a person that's afraid of contracting things out, because I know sometimes you can contract things out, even providing a profit margin to the vendor, and do it cheaper than what you can do in-house, because you also have to factor in the maintenance of the purchase and maintenance of the equipment. Not saying I'm a proponent of one way or the other, but I'm not opposed to investigating both options. But until we fully understand or determine what we're going to be doing as far as dredging operations, that helps us determine what equipment we do or do not need. And I guess that's one of the questions I'd ultimately like resolved. Probably not tonight, but ultimately.
No, it's a good question. And I do think, going back as far as I go back, I don't know that it was understood precisely at the time of our acquisition of the big barge. If we intended to do large scale dredging with that, I think it quickly became obvious that was not the most efficient way to do it. The hydraulics are definitely, for the bigger project, the better bang for the buck. So then it comes down to, all right, do you need that big a barge for access or private dredging? And my guess is not, but that's to be determined, especially given, its life expectancy and issues.
And I think that's going to be a major, sorry, go ahead, Mary Jane.
I would just add, we need to better understand what the full cost of running the large barge is to us.
Right.
And some of that is in the spreadsheet, but I'd like to see just a summary that says, here's what it's going to cost to staff it. Here's what it's going to cost to get it up to speed, because that's in the document you sent. It sounds as if the large barge is going to spring a big hole if we don't put some major money into it. The other piece, there is, what would it cost us to contract? What is a general ballpark thing? And then kind of a pros and cons. And the pros that I see is we would get out of the staffing nightmare. We would get out of it broke down and now we have to stop everything, because if another company's doing it, they have better staffing and they have access to parts and mechanical things, but we don't know that unless we go get that information. And so and meanwhile, we have the tension of the large barge is depreciating, I'll say that kindly. And it's not going to be in demand. And right now we've got Heartland saying they might take it. And so we need to get to some resolution relatively quickly, or we may lose the only real opportunity we have to unload it, so to speak.
And I agree. I think it's going to be a major policy discussion. We keep dancing around it. We've talked about doing just maintenance stuff, what we're going to do. I think it would be good to have a couple board members get together with myself and outside experts and actually bring those numbers in, what it would look at for contracting out if somebody could keep a barge on here. I started talking with a couple of dredging companies, but it would be nice to have all that so we can, look at what it's been costing us, what it would potentially cost for somebody else to do it. And during my times calling, when I was going through some of these initial investigations and working with Debbie, calling districts around, we still are the only one that has an in-house dredging operation. But what it seems like some of the other districts are doing is for access channels and for private dredging, particularly access channels, is they're cost sharing with the residents. So if there's a channel that is benefiting 15 homes, they would ask those 15 homes to come together and then bring a proposal to the Conservancy District to cost share that type of stuff. So I think it is going to be a major policy discussion, and it would be nice to have a couple different people to focus on that.
I agree with you on that. We've been talking about this for years, so you guys know I'm just kind of frustrated that we haven't moved to get some kind of policy. But does the big barge discussion, if Heartland is interested in it, as you answered Steve, what will we be losing? Is that even a question on the big barge? Or are we just kind of talking about some of the other stuff? That's what we have to decide. Can we not, like Pam said, hydraulic dredging is more efficient. I mean, will we ever use that? I mean, that thing is like, I don't know. It says it was 2009. I'm sure with those ID numbers, you can figure out how old it was. Back when we bought it, it said it had a 5-year useful life. It was $144,000. Now you're telling us it would cost $500,000 to replace it, right?
I think so. Yeah, if you look at replacement of the whole system there.
So I guess my whole thing is, I think we should and can study it to come up with a policy and look at those numbers. But I guess I'm just asking you, is the question of whether to sell and offload this big barge while it's got maybe some limited value to somebody, is that going to take months to decide, or is it even a question at this point?
That's well said. Well, I think it's kind of easy. We've had two good thoughts here tonight. Adam said, what if we go ahead and think about prepping the documents to sell? We don't have to sell, but let's see what, this is the whole bid process again. So let's see, it's kind of like fishing. We're going to throw out the lines and see what we get back. It doesn't mean we're going to do it. Meanwhile, we think on it a little bit and try to get our heads around what is going to happen to this lake, et cetera. And then I think the other thought was, that's kind of a no-brainer. What was the other thought? Help me, Adam. We had two things we were going to do. Oh my God.
I'd like to make.
Uh-oh. I lost number two. Number one was the most important. It'll come to me. Yes, Mike? Mike Blackwell?
Yes. Okay. So 9 years ago, Butch Evans did a cost analysis of all of our machinery, our excavator, our push boat, and our barge. At the time, the barge was 3 years old and it was estimated to be worth $115,000. It was only 3 years old at the time. This was 9 years ago. And it also, he stated in his report that the condition of the barge was excellent. So the same thing with the push boat. The push boat at that time had 525 hours on it. This was 2012, November. The condition of the push boat was excellent. So what's happening, this was when Bob Madden was the manager, that he stated that we needed a regular scheduled maintenance program, not maintaining it when it's broke, but a regular maintenance program, every year. Maintain these things every year with a program. He offered that program to us, and we signed up with him at that time. I don't know what happened since. I think we went with maybe another vendor, but my second point is this. That is used as a taxi system for multiple channels. Dorothy Lane, Jay Whittegren's channel, etc., not just Chitwood. And the third thing is, if you take away the large barge, what you're going to do with these homeowners that pool their money together, it's going to double their costs on dredging, because it'll be further for the small barge to travel, and it does not have the capacity. So those three things, I'm against getting rid of the large barge, unless maybe the board would consider purchasing a hydraulic dredger that could get into those areas. Then it's a moot point.
Well, I think that what we're talking about, unless I've now lost the thread of the conversation, is that if we sell the large barge, we would certainly look hard at contracting with an outside company to do that bigger kind of work when we need it. Am I correct?
Yeah, we don't want to reduce the benefits or services that are provided to the freeholders.
Right.
We
We
just
want to
really
do
look
them.
at the most cost-effective way to do it.
So
We're currently dredging at contractor prices, and we're looking at repairing and replacing that. I think secondly, that this year when we're trying to close a budget gap, I mean, I firmly believe that we shouldn't do LLCDP for dredging this year, and we should focus on doing private to bring in revenue and to close that budget gap. And the small barge for that is the best option.
So
So is Heartland Dredging also interested in the boat or just the barge?
The boat also.
The push boat?
And Les, as we were talking, that was my number 2. Sorry, guys, I'm backtracking. First was go ahead and get the attorney to prep documents to possibly see about selling it. Number 2 was ask Heartland, as Debbie suggested, what do they have and what do they give us for it? And so back to you, Les, sorry.
Yeah, okay. Oh boy.
Yeah, we're getting a little.
Totally convinced. I mean, I just kind of hate to let it go since we got it.
I understand. Yeah, and I think these points are well taken, certainly.
Right. But I guess, getting back to Deb's comment too, I mean, do we need to make a commitment? I mean, get some people together and let's come up with this long range plan we keep talking about. And we're not doing it. So maybe right now is a good time to make that commitment.
Get after it. No, I think that's right.
The other option too, Heartland said they were interested in renting the barge as well. So during this time, I will go down that path and see what we could do for revenue generation, because maybe we could rent it for a price that isn't going to be much different than the purchase. And I'll have to look into that. Well,
we clearly need more information to figure. We're not going to decide tonight about whether the barge is staying or going. Mike Blackwell, I understand your point. However, we got to look at all the numbers. Does it make sense?
It also includes the 3 areas that have been dredged in your area. 3 different times the large barge was used. Had you used the small barge, you would have paid twice the money to use that small barge.
But we're actually not talking about doing that. We're not talking about replacing that we've done with the small barge. I'm talking about the potential for contracting somebody to do part of this work.
You got to see what's cheaper. I mean, that's the bottom line. Everybody gets all up of a dither when we talk about contracting things out. I once did at every turn, but I can now see where, maybe you said it well, Adam, in your email to Malcolm. It may or may not make sense for it to be LLCD run equipment. And that's what we got to find out.
If you do it in-house, I think you would really need to, either you're going to tiptoe in the dredging business and not have mechanics, not have backup equipment, not have warehousing and the ability to manage it on site, constantly calling in, or you look at somebody else that has those things and they can run a more efficient and a more stable operation. I think it seriously has to be considered.
It's
Look
their
at the
business.
numbers.
That would be the other thing we need estimates on is what are the costs if we contract?
Yeah, and then we lay it all out and we say, all right, it'll be obvious. It should be.
And I think that all circles back to, it's hard to assess what it's going to cost until we determine what our priorities are
Would be, yes.
and what approach.
Yeah, goes back to the long-range plan that Les so aptly reminded us we need to do in terms of our dredging. Okay, fair enough.
Well, one more comment, piggyback on what Michael said is, we can decide what our priorities are, and they could be pie in the sky priorities. If we can't afford them, I mean, that's what the issue is. You know, we got to follow the numbers.
Sure. No, you're right.
And and that's obviously an important part of this.
Mike B, were you trying to add something, Mike Blackwell? You're yellow.
I wanted to make sure that, right now we're paying between $10 and $15 a cubic yard. And by using the small barge to replace the large barge, we're going to double that cost. And I'm willing to look at contract dredging, because that's basically what we're doing now is contract dredging. But I'm in the camp that says keep the large barge, because let's say down the road with this plan that we're getting ready to come up with, and we get a hydraulic dredger, you're going to need a tanker to fuel it, and you're going to need a barge to carry the tanker. It all falls in the same place. But let's get a plan together.
And make good decisions. Well, and I'm of the I couldn't make the call right now on the large barge. I hear you certainly, but I think we need more information. I don't know that your number was correct, Mike Blackwell, on the per cubic yard. Just that's the number.
That's in the stuff that Adam sent us.
Oh, I thought, what was the $17 that we discussed?
That includes the equipment and our dredging from beginning up until now.
Okay, so the 10 is adjusted. I see. Okay, thank you. Good clarification.
So do we need to approve anything like?
If you?
I mean, if we want to.
Adam's going
to get a little committee together with some board members and myself and start hashing out a plan. We can do that and look at renting the small barge to Heartland Dredging.
I mean the large barge.
The large barge. Yes.
I don't know that you need
nice to know what we could get for it. One thing that I would be worried about is we rent it out for a little bit and they decide they don't want it and they're just going to go build a new one. Then we may have missed an opportunity there.
It's also wear and tear. I don't think you need a committee to decide that. I think you ask them, like Debbie suggested, the number, and then bring it back and see if we like it or not. The attorney prepping documents to potentially sell, I think you need a board motion and approval on that.
And we should approve that, should we not? To go ahead and get bids, because that's going to be
I would say yes. Maybe others feel differently, but we vote on it and see where it goes. Does that make sense?
Like Adam said, remember,
want a motion?
We're just
yes,
trying
I
to
do.
Get I would make a motion that we allow Adam to issue sealed bids for the potential sale of, what am I saying? The large barge, push boat,
excavator.
Together or separate, however he wants to write that, I would defer to him.
Right.
Mary Jane, would you second that?
I will second it.
All right.
I would like to have an amendment to that that says this is no commitment. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I can vote for getting the cast a nest to see what kind of money, but I'm still not.
Yeah,
I agree completely.
And we'll clarify in the motion that this is just a solicit sealed bids. And in the documents, we will state that there is no guarantee of awarding of a bid to any specific bidder or piece of equipment.
Okay, because I think that then, once that information comes back, then we need to decide.
Right.
So basically what we're talking about is allowing Adam at this juncture to get our attorney to prep these documents, and then you want to see them, I mean, with these amendments, but you want to see these documents next meeting before he goes out trolling.
I don't think it,
Oh,
I
no, I don't
we
think
need to
so.
send them out. I don't think we need to see them. I think
Okay.
we're just
Okay, all right,
approving.
I'm just making sure.
I'd
Just
say
making
get
sure.
a move on it.
I agree,
Yeah.
but I just was making sure, trying to be careful. Okay,
Your word's good for me.
all right. So Debbie has made the motion that we
I
allow
seconded.
Adam, and Mary Jane seconded it, and Les put in the caveat amendment that we do not have to move forward if we do not desire to do so.
That was
Any
a
other-
friendly amendment between that both Debbie
It was
and
kind of an informal
Jane
amendment, yes, kind of an informal
agreed
amendment.
to incorporate in their motion, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I could be fancier about it, but I don't think we need to
I
be.
played the role of parliamentarian here, so
Well,
I
why
love-
don't
I
we
love-
just-
I love
that way
it.
we
Michael,
don't
why
need to
don't
have
we
a.
That was Lake Lemon style, Michael Klitzing. We tend to do things in a little bit less.
Mike, you
whatever,
should make the motion. That's fine. I'm happy for
No,
you to
it's done.
articulate
No,
it.
it's good. That way we don't have to undo any motions or do an additional set of motions. So if you both are in
Correct.
agreement, then we're good. So
Practicality. Okay. Debbie, would you please restate your motion with Les's inclusion to allow Adam?
I move that we allow Adam to have our attorney prepare bid documents for the potential sale of the excavator, the push boat, and the large barge with the qualification, so stating that those bids do not need to be awarded.
Perfect.
I
I'll
will
see how-
second, and I will second that motion.
See how clean that is? Les doesn't get his name on it, but it's very clean. All right. Any further questions or
I'm
discussion?
not sure I want my name on this stuff, you know what I mean?
I think you're all
You
right.
It's a big thing, but
All right. So it's been moved and seconded as stated. Is there any further question or discussion? If not, let's vote. Steve Pretty,
Aye.
Michael Klitzing,
aye.
Debbie,
I,
Les,
I,
Mike Blackwell,
Aye.
Mary Jane,
Aye.
and I too am an aye. Thank you. Lake Lemon style. Okay, that brings us to the next point in your manager's report, which is the sediment management project update. What? Oh, sorry. What's wrong, Mary Jane?
Are we going to appoint the committee?
We
this
can
evening?
if you, sure, if that's what you'd
I
like to
think,
do.
you know, I feel an urgency to
Okay.
get this thing moving.
Fine, good.
So-
Yeah, happy to do that. What do you guys think? What do you want to do? Who's up for it? Les?
I could help, sure.
Okay, thank you. I think we have to keep it to 3.
I'd like
Debbie?
to do it just from a financial
I
perspective.
think that's awesome. I guess one more, because otherwise we'd be at quorum.
Well,
So,
I'm actually going to suggest Malcolm.
okay, he'll be on board at the end of next month.
He's willing to, because he'll be on the board in a
Okay.
month.
I will call him with that in mind and see if he's willing, and I'm sure he'll say yes. If not, I will tell him he will.
And
And if we want to do one more intermittent board member, we can always bring Malcolm on in the interim as an expert on the side. So, and the committee will be able to bring in additional people as we see fit that aren't board
Could we-
members.
Could we also, since we're just limited to 3 board members, could we also reach out to Kevin Fagan? Since he's really helped out with considerably with this project.
I will call both of, well, let me rephrase that. I'm not going to have time tomorrow.
Maybe Mary
I-
Jane could,
I will
or-
call Malcolm.
can
Can
do
someone
it.
call Kevin?
I'll call
I
Kevin.
will, well, yeah, and I do think the committee though should be, the standing committee should just be the board members, and we can bring on additional people as we see.
Okay, I can call Malcolm tomorrow. I will do
So-
so and report back.
Well, and then for that matter, Adam, you can contact Kevin separately then and invite him to be part of it.
Okay,
Okay, so Adam, will you participate in this?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
I'm thinking
So then-
3 board members, myself, and then we can bring in other people as we need to for
Okay,
experts,
so
such as
then
the different
my-
dredging companies, et cetera.
Okay.
What do you
my
want to,
next
what do you want to call
question-
this?
My next question though is who's going to take the lead?
Hey, wait a minute. Breaking news. Malcolm McClure is texting me. He'll be happy to be on the committee. Is that
Okay.
good? Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you. I appreciate your always willingness. Okay, so you want to know, Les, who's gonna run the show?
Yeah, who's going to take the lead? Somebody's got to set up a meeting and all that kind of stuff.
I think
I'll
that's
do that.
Adam.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All
I'm
right.
right.
happy to get this rolling because it's been a lingering issue and it's really going to impact
Yes.
managing of the
And
operation moving forward. So.
Like, I'm also happy if you want me to be part of it to do that. But since Malcolm's going to be a board member, then if you've got Les and Debbie, you don't need me.
No, I think Les, Debbie, and Malcolm would be bringing
Okay.
a good.
I think it's great. I think it's a done deal and probably way past time, but let's see what we come up with and go from there. It seems like when we formed committee.
Freeze out.
Yeah.
We have, I'm comfortable with this if you all are, and hopefully our public is as well.
One more
Okay.
comment. One more
Yes, sir.
comment.
Yep.
I'd like to have someone from District 6 or District 7, like Steve Langbein.
District
Or-
6 is Malcolm. Malcolm will be District 6.
You're talking about a freeholder, Kevin Fagan. I would entertain another freeholder from 6 or 7. I would say Steve Langbein shows up at most of the meetings. I know that he's involved in the dredging. He showed up at almost all of the SPC meetings. Rather than just have one freeholder, I would suggest maybe have one more to get the information from the areas that are filling in with sediment.
I think what Adam suggested was that we just do the board members at this juncture. Isn't that what you said? And also, what kind of committee is this going to be? Is it a committee of the board, or, we've gotten caught up in our underwear on that before,
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Well,
we
is
have.
this managed?
Going to reach out to Kevin Fagan, and so it would just be nice to have a freeholder from the East End that's familiar with the sediment.
Well, I think that would certainly, are you saying a non-board member, Mike? Maybe I'm misunderstanding you, because Malcolm would fit your criteria.
Kevin Fagan is not a board member.
But
Well,
Mike said we weren't going to ask him.
We
We
didn't
said we're
say-
going to keep it to the
Right.
board.
Okay,
Well,
let's do this. Let's start with graciously volunteered Les and Debbie as board members, and then Malcolm as an incoming. Let's start with that. Keep it simple. And then if it needs to grow, I respect your thoughts and certainly understand why you're thinking what you're thinking. So,
Thank you.
okay, perfect. Great. Okay.
And
Sediment.
since this sounds like a committee of the board, if we're directing it, then it will have to be publicly posted.
Correct.
For meetings.
For the meetings, yes. So I think that, yeah, as long as we follow that rule, we're in good shape, Michael. Okay. Yep. Okay. And probably that means minutes too. Right? All the
Minutes or
usual-
notes, either.
Now,
or-
for the committees of the board, Michael, does that mean those are public meetings?
Open to the public, yes. And
If
notes-
it's a committee that is established at the discretion of the
The board.
manager, they're not subject to.
right. But this
open-
is a board sanctioned committee. So points well
Well,
taken.
should it be?
How about I appoint a task force
I mean, I'm kind of thinking maybe.
for
Okay.
this?
Wanna do that?
I would like to be
Okay.
able to go and explore and come back and discuss things. So
Okay.
I would like to recommend a committee to study the future of dredging, cost, methods, most efficient for the district, initially consisting of Les, Deb, and Malcolm
And why don't you call it a manager's
as a
task
manager appointed
force?
committee. Yes.
All right. I'm not even sure we need to vote on that. That's
I
your
don't think
discretion.
so.
If
Okay.
we vote on it, it becomes a board.
It becomes a board thing. All right, good, done. Schedule your first meeting ASAP.
Will do.
How about that?
Will do.
Okay, sediment management project update.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share just some pictures going on. They have been working over there. They did run into a hiccup, they being United Excavating. with the equipment they were using and really get into sandy, wet conditions in the subterranean. We did have a meeting and they're currently pushing through. They had to rent 3 track dump trucks to continue moving soil in the area. As of January 11th, the total volume of the basin was 106,000 yards. Usable was between 80 and 85,000. Usable meaning we can't fill it up to the brim. There's going to be a seat pipe that's about 3 feet below the top. So they are still working over there. Gosh, I hope we don't get all that rain next week and it just stays frozen, because really that's what's allowing them to run this equipment across that top of the sandy surface. They have been running the track trucks for about 2 weeks though, so I'm hopeful that we can push towards. I'm not sure we're going to get that 140,000 total volume. I'm hoping we can get towards 120,000 all said and done. Just the conditions. We are into groundwater in that area, so that's moving forward. I do have some pictures that I would like to share, and these are just recent photos. Can everybody see the?
Mhm.
Let's see if I can make it large. All right. So this is the area that we're digging at now. This was actually last week. This is the sandy area and the groundwater that's seeping in around this. And that's kind of what's causing the issue. When it's frozen now, they can run this equipment on top of the sandy area. But once they do have a freeze, they're going to have issues getting any type of equipment in there. The freeze is also helping with stacking the sediment. That was one of the issues that they had. The track trucks are helping because they can get to some of this other good soil in the back area. This was, again, last week. You can see the track trucks that they're using. They have 3 of those rented. This area where the water is actually down to the bedrock, which was our original goal for the total volume. So they're moving along. This is actually pictures from today. They have excavated most of this area. They are still, I think, running on 2 feet or so of that sandy, luckily frozen material. So it does kind of run into, I don't believe we're going to be able to do that subterranean drainage, kind of a tile system, because you are in groundwater, so you're never going to get that dry. They have bought a very nice, we're going to use an electric 3-inch type of sump pump. So by the outflow, we will have a set vertical pipe. So we'll still be able to pump water off from the top. So we will still have means and methods of keeping the top surface dry, and actually quite a bit of cost savings with that. Here's some other pictures. You can kind of see these frozen areas and the ground they're running on. This excavator is actually bigger than ours, which is a little tough to give for scale. I think these dump trucks are probably about 10 feet tall. Just a little close up on that. And then when I actually went, Malcolm was with me, we did a disposal site tour last week. They were having issues stacking dirt, and we're actually just in these lower areas. So all this mounding that we see going on is just from the past 2 weeks. So the freeze and then transitioning to that tracked equipment has really been helping out. Here's another little picture of the dump truck. This is on the west side of the stream. So this is kind of that area right by County Line Road in the S-turn where we are stacking and storing that dirt. So we're moving along. I think we just had a couple applications for payment for the work that they've done so far. So I think we're going. Once they finish what they can do, and once they get that rain, if they can't run on it anymore, they will be going back and doing another survey. A lot of the pricing was just the materials, pumping, stabilization type stuff. I think it was close to half of the contract. That was actually the earthwork. Once we are finished, they will be doing a survey to look at the total yardage that was removed, and that portion of the contract will be based on the actual yardage that was removed. So it's going along, I think as good as it can for now.
Debbie?
Adam got a couple payment requests, and I just want to let you know that we've kind of been back at the engineer on it, and he asked for revisions because they're probably going to hit us with a change order. on this excess water, groundwater that they're running into. I have no idea what that change order is going to be. The detailed memo and the work that Charles at Christopher Burke's company is doing is really invaluable. And so we're waiting for his final approval because they've gone back and revised it, but I don't know what that's going to look like, Adam.
Yeah, so they have sent, they are going to be requesting a change order because of excessive dewatering. During our soil borings, we could tell about the sandy soil. You could not really tell where the groundwater level was in those areas. So they've spent, I believe it was close to $35,000 or $37,000 essentially on what they call concrete kiln dust to help dry out the soil, make it workable, and maintain their roads. So when we worked with them, I had a meeting about 2 weeks ago, and they're running into issues with the equipment that they were using, and we came up with the idea to continue with the track trucks. I said the biggest thing that we cannot do is add money to this contract. Now, if they have to use these type of methods to get the work done, since we're not going to be doing the subterranean tile system, there is a little bit of funds there that we could use for them to recoup some of the cost. We'll have to actually look what they come back at. As part of their change order, they do need to provide some administrative work showing hours, materials, equipment rentals. They have to prove that there's a real case that they went over the predicted amount for dewatering and that it was an unforeseen condition.
Do you have a sense of, is that bigger than a bread box? I mean, do you have a sense of what kind of money they're going to hit us with? Is it that 38,000?
Correct. Yeah, it is that. I think it was 37 that they had in there that we made them take out of this pay order.
Yeah, they tried to get us to pay them for it, but it wasn't part of the bid and it wasn't a line item, and they are going to have to provide. So anyway, thus goes the ongoing discussion about this project, and you need to find money.
Yes. So we're moving along, and we'll have some more updates next month, and I'll update the board as we move. The next up we have, I guess there's not really a big discussion to have right now. The Shell Marina was purchased by Steve Warner, two Steve Warners, a father and son that bought it. They have sent out a survey recently regarding increase of service in the area. One of those potential items was a boat rental discussion. That does not have to be decided tonight, and I think it would behoove us to kind of see what they get from their survey from the freeholders, so we can see what the freeholders are actually wanting on the lake. My initial thoughts are I do not want to see a big fleet of rentals and college kids and partying on the lake. I absolutely do not want to see double deckers, big motored rentals. I don't necessarily have an issue with a handful of boats, size limits, motor limits, capacity limits, designated swim areas, maps, areas that they can't bring these rental boats. So I don't know if we want to make a decision now or if we just want to wait until they.
I think we want to see what the survey of the freeholders yields, because it's the freeholders who are in charge via us of taking care of the lake and making it as good as it can be for all of us and our public, our paying public. And I think congratulations are definitely in order to Laura and John on their retirement. They worked hard. I will add, on a personal note, Tom and I would not have had any fun on this lake had we not had a fabulously functioning marina. And I really wish the two Steves, as I have come to call them, I guess, the best of luck, and that we would, as a conservancy district, plan to work with them as best we can for the good of all.
I agree.
Did all the
one thing on
freeholders
this,
get that?
no, they did not. One of the things that I was going to say about the survey is they use John and Laura Shell's mailing list. So if you've done business with the marina, you got the survey. But
Right.
It's clear when you complete the survey that anybody can complete it, because they ask you again for your email address. So what I would suggest is, even if they didn't send it to you, Debbie was kind to send it to everybody on the board. Share it with other people. And it occurred to me the other day that, not everybody in my district uses the marina. So I'm going to send this out to more people, because they need to get the feedback directly from freeholders, not just from the board.
I can share that survey via Constant Contact tomorrow to our entire
Okay.
listener.
That's a good
That'd
idea.
be good, or
That
even
would be great.
post it. It should be news, like on our website
Sure.
too. And
Yeah.
probably Jessica can figure out how to do that for
Well,
us. But just introducing them and welcoming them and all that good stuff. Maybe that's a place they could click and complete it as well.
Okay.
So I totally agree with waiting for the feedback. I don't think we should make any decisions, but in my survey, I ended up saying on the extra comments, I said that I thought it was important to coordinate with the LLCD board on what our strategic plans were as well. Like, what do we want to do at Riddle Point? What do they want to do? And I guess my last comment would be, what control do we have over it, really? I mean, I'd have to read that lease, but
we have full control over rentals for boats. Some of the services that are, such as the survey mentioned, alcohol sales, potential food, that type of stuff, we do not have any control over unless they were doing, say, a delivery service via the water. The rental boats, we absolutely have control over as far as setting limits, capacities. We can set different sticker prices for renter boats. I mean, if we want to charge a premium for these stickers for these commercial rental boats, we can do that. So we have essentially full authority to allow and to set limitations on rental boats on the lake.
No, I do agree with that. And I like that list that you sent out, no jet skis, that sort of thing. The only other thing that you might want to add is no tri-twos, because they go really fast. And I think rentals, if we can limit it to slow going stuff, will be a lot better off,
All right. I think I'm hearing a lot of similar thoughts. We don't want any safety issues or any more than we already have. And I think, that's to be foremost in the board's mind going forward. Okay.
That's the end of mine.
That's the end of you. Okay. Any further comments on that, or are we closing out? I would add now that at the end of the deal here, that the next meeting we have scheduled is Thursday, February 25th at 6 o'clock.
4th.
Oh, it's wrong on my agenda. Hey, what happened? 24th, 6 o'clock. It would be my great hope that this surge is passed and we can meet in person, as that will be my last meeting, but we will do what is recommended at the time, and we will have to check with CBU to see if they are in fact open for business. I'm not opposed to finding another spot if we feel it's safe to do so, even if CBU is not available, but we'll get to that later in the month. I will say, having been in New York twice now in the last 2 weeks, it appears that they have peaked, and my daughter-in-law does COVID research for Mount Sinai and such, and she is confirming that. 2 weeks ago, the lines for the COVID testing on the street were out 2 hours long. And now there's really almost no one at those sites. So I think the worst is over here, and that should be coming to us from both coasts. So I'm hopeful.
We can only hope.
You bet.
And will there be an option? Well, you guys know I'm going to be in Florida at the Eagles concert that night.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
and I
8
was
o'clock,
thinking
so
about
I'll try to- we'll
it'll
try
be
to
okay. Yeah,
around.
we can swear, you can be sworn in after the fact at the following meeting. I don't think that's an issue, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay.
And I think it'll be fine. So with all that, I think I would entertain a motion to adjourn if no one else has anything. Thank you, Michael Klitzing. A second, please.
Second.
All right, all in favor, Steve?
Aye.
Michael Klitzing?
Aye.
Debbie?
Aye.
Les?
All right.
Mike Blackwell? Mary Jane?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Good night, everyone. Thank you for your time. See you next month, some way or
So
another.
enjoy that baby.